Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we're up to the interludes between part 2 and part 3. And the interludes, you may remember, between part 1 and part 2 are short stories that come from the world of the Stormlight Archives. They come from Roshar, and they are usually ways to introduce characters that'll show up later, or they're standalone stories that just help build the world a little bit more. And in this story, he is introducing a character that will become important in the future. Her name is Rysn, and this is the title of the interlude, Interlude 4. And Rysn is an apprentice to a Thaylen merchant. Thaylena is a country, and they are known for being well-traveled merchants. And she's traveling with a merchant named Vistim. She calls him her Babsk, which I think is a very affectionate term. And legally, while she is apprenticed to him, Thaylena people, they have sort of a law that when she's apprenticed to him until he deems her ready to be her own master, he really is in control of her, and he is legally like her father. And so she really obeys and responds to him as a father and a daughter. And Vistim is very wise. Well, they are journeying through what Rysn considers to be an extremely weird land, an extremely weird area, and it's called Shinovar. The Shin. We have met a Shin in the story, and you would have to go way back to the very early part, the early prologue and prelude of the story, because a Shin is the one who assassinated King Gavilar. You can go back and read back through, but this is where they are at. They are in Shinovar. And there is much odd about the geography of Shinovar. The reason why is because the Misted Mountains sort of form a barrier around Shinovar that the high storm breaks when it crashes into it. So it's really the only place in all of Roshar that isn't affected by the high storm. And that being said, we're going to see that nature is going to respond differently than it does everywhere else. The first thing that Rysn notices is that when she steps on the grass, when she steps on it, it doesn't retract into the ground. Elsewhere, and you've picked up on this, maybe you haven't noticed it expressly said, but plant life, it'll retract into the rock, it'll retract into the ground because it's protecting itself. Everything has a shell, everything has outer protection, but that's not necessary here in Shinovar. So nature has adapted to what we be very much like our world, where grass can be walked on, trees grow straight, leaves are easy to hold on to the trees because they grow easily and well and aren't hampered by crazy weather patterns. There's some other things that Rysn thinks is odd, but there's a new bit of technology that Vistim has purchased, and it's a fabrial that you can set up on a tripod, and it can essentially register the people that you plug into it, and anyone else that comes into a vicinity, it starts flashing. And this one begins flashing yellow. Well, Rysn doesn't get it set up too long before it starts flashing. And Vistim is very impressed at the range of this fabrial because they can barely see some Shin soldiers coming towards them. Well, Rysn gets a little nervous. She thinks, oh my goodness gracious, it's a good thing we have guards with us to protect all of our goods. But Vistim calms them all down. So says, whoa, we don't need to be pulling out our weapons. I recognize these individuals. There's something else that's different. Soldiers are walking on the ground, and someone riding, who Rysn assumes is the master, maybe some nobleman, Vistim tells her that he's actually a farmer. And Rysn is a farmer? Why are soldiers on the ground and a mere farmer is riding on a horse? What is going on here with this sort of hierarchy? And Vistim says, no, here they actually elevate farmers. And they never bring a foreigner to one of their farms. Rysn is just, this is insane. These people have lost their minds. Everything about this place is weird. Well, they go running off, and sure enough, yes, Vistim knows the farmer. When he gets down, he also is here to trade with Vistim. But there's something that Rysn also notices is that it seems like Herbabsk, who is a very good trader, he's a very good haggler, and he can get you to pay more than you need to. He seems to be underselling all of his goods. He's actually showing how bad it is, how worthless this stuff is. And sure enough, the farmer seems to be doing the same thing for their goods. And Rysn she has no idea why they're behaving in such a manner. Well, sure enough, Vistim sells him pretty much all of the metal that he gives him, and it looks like soul-casted items. And of course, that's fabrials from the Shattered Plains, from Alethkar, and they use fabrials, soul casters themselves, and what they do is soul cast. They turn items, take wood into stone. They turn stone into steam. And they use the magic of the fabrials to do such things. Well, what this stuff is it is wood that's been transferred, soul cast, into stone, into metal specifically. And Vistim is very careful to let the farmer, and his name is Thresh, son Asan, Thresh, son Asan, Thresh. He's very careful to let Thresh know that this is not made from anything of stone. It is purely metal, soul cast out of wood. And we're going to learn that the Shins, they have a strange affinity. Maybe strange would be Rysn's perspective. They have an affinity for stones. We'll get there later. They shake hands. The Shins go off. And Rysn and Vistim sort of debrief. He asks her what she learned. And she just says, I learned that the Shin are odd. He says, no, what did you learn? And she shares that. She says, it seems like the one who is more humble, they respond well to that. And he said, that's exactly what you were supposed to learn from it. The Shin are interesting people, and you can't exaggerate, you can't lie. They respect humility. They respect underselling things, and he says, and they will pay for it too. So he knows what he's doing. He is making it seem like this is worthless material, and they are paying handsomely for it. The interlude wraps up, and she's been bad-mouthing this grass that she's been stepping on. She's like, I don't trust this stuff. It doesn't retract like it should. If it stains my clothes, I'm going to be furious. And what he says, here's what I want you to do, Rysn. I want you to take this knife and I want you to cut out some grass. Make sure you get the dirt with it, the soil with it, because it needs it to live. She has no idea, right? He says, and I want you to take care of this. Why am I going to take care of this grass? He says, because you need to take care of it until you learn to stop thinking of it as odd. It will make you a better merchant if what you don't understand, you don't automatically reject. Well, she had been going through her mind what must be wrong with this grass because it's not retracting like it should be. And she had been calling it a bunch of names. Well, that's where we finish our interlude. She's learning, but she's learning slowly. She walked off to do as she was told. No use complaining. She did get out a rugged pair of gloves first and rolled up her sleeves. She was not going to ruin a good dress for a pot of drooling, wall-staring, imbecile grass. And that was that. So this is Rysn. She's an apprentice to a Thaylen merchant, and we'll see where their adventure takes them. They're going through different places. They've found their way to Shinovar, and they've traded some soul-cast metal for chickens and a few other things. So we will return in the next interlude in the next video. But thanks for watching. If you're interested, you can like and subscribe. We'll continue the story of The Way of Kings, Book 1 of the Stormlight Archives, in the next video.